Trump makes a major announcement on Chinese chips. The U.S. military unveils its new AI platform. And tens of thousands of migrant kids that went missing under Biden have been found. I'm Daily Wire executive editor John Bickley with Georgia Howe. It's Tuesday, December 9th. This is Evening Wire.
President Trump announced a major decision on China and high-powered chips. Daily Wire reporter Brecca Stoll reports.
On Monday, President Trump announced that he had informed President Xi that the United States will now allow NVIDIA to ship its H200 chips to approved customers in China, under conditions that allow for continued strong national security. The president said Xi responded positively and that the United States will receive 25% of the chip sales. The White House did not immediately respond to requests for clarification on whether that 25% will be paid by China or NVIDIA. However, in August, reports surfaced of a separate deal in which NVIDIA would share 15% of their profits from chip sales with the U.S. government. More details are expected to see if Monday's deal follows a similar structure. President Trump emphasized that NVIDIA's most advanced chips, Blackwell and Rubin, would not be included in the H200 export authorization.
Secretary of War Pete Hegseth has announced the launch of a military AI platform powered by Google Gemini. The platform, dubbed GenAI.Mil, will allow the U.S. military to conduct research, analysis, and other operations at unprecedented speeds. Here's Hegseth explaining the benefits of the new platform.
The future of American warfare is here, and it's spelled AI. As technologies advance, so do our adversaries. But here at the War Department, we are not sitting idly by. Under the leadership of President Trump, America will lead the charge on this technological transformation by revolutionizing the way we win.
Speaking of Hegseth, President Trump says he defers to him on whether to release the video from the second boat strike and denies supporting it outright. Daily Wire reporter Zach Jewell has the latest on the controversy.
Last Wednesday, Trump said that whatever Secretary Pete Hegseth's War Department had, quote, we'd certainly release, no problem. When asked about it again on Monday, the president had this to say.
Hegseth now says that.
Whatever Hegseth wants to do is okay with me.
He now says it's under review. Are you ordering the secretary to release that full video?
Whatever he decides is okay with me.
Trump doubled down on his confidence in Hegseth and addressed the strike video in an interview with Politico released this morning.
He's doing a great job.
Have you watched the video?
He was stopping. I watched everything. Yeah, I watch everything. I see a lot of things.
And do you believe that that second
pretty,
strike was necessary?
Well, it looked like they were trying to turn back over the boat, but I don't get involved in that. That's up to them.
The administration released a 29-second unclassified video showing the first strike on September 2nd, but the full video of the follow-up strike has been shown to only a select few lawmakers. Hegseth's Secretary of State Marco Rubio and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff are scheduled to meet today with top Intelligence Committee lawmakers behind closed doors.
President Trump says Europe is going in some very bad directions after the EU slapped the platform X with a $140 million fine under its Digital Services Act. Trump was visibly surprised when he heard the news. Here he is being asked about it.
Whoa, that's a nasty one. I don't know. Elon has not called me to ask for help on that one. But no, it's a tough thing. I don't think it's right. No, I don't think it's right. I don't see, how they can do that. No. I'll speak about it later. I'm going to get a full report on it. Look, Europe has to be very careful.
Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio also blasted the fine as a foreign attack on America's free speech values. Ex-owner Elon Musk fired back, accusing EU officials of exploiting a platform bug to boost their own announcement, and then he terminated their ad account. Musk says X is now seeing record downloads across Europe despite the crackdown.
In other European news, French automaker Renault has teamed up with Ford to compete against cheap Chinese cars in Europe. Renault will manufacture 2 entry-level electric vehicles designed by Ford for sale in the European market with a release date of 2028. Ford, who is separately working on competitive American EV releases, including electric trucks, hopes that the European partnership will position them to compete with Chinese manufacturers who have flooded the market with their own low-cost vehicles.
The state of Florida took legal action today against a trio of medical organizations that promote transgender procedures on children. Daily Wire culture reporter Megan Basham has more.
The Daily Wire reports that Republican Attorney General James Uthmire filed a suit against pro-trans organization WPATH, as well as the Endocrine Society and the American Academy of Pediatrics, over their support of transgender procedures on kids. The suit accuses the organizations of pushing irreversible medical procedures on gender-confused kids for financial benefit.
For years, these groups insisted the recommendations were settled science. But behind closed doors, they knew the evidence was weak. They knew the outcomes uncertain and the risks very real. Parents were not told the full story. Not only is that unethical and dangerous medicine, but it is against the law. Children were irrevocably harmed because truth was replaced with political activism.
The lawsuit accuses the organizations of violating Florida's Deceptive and Unfair Trade Practices Act and engaging in racketeering by misleading, quote, patients, parents, insurers, regulators, and courts about these medical interventions being reversible and effective for children.
A Manhattan judge has ordered the release of grand jury records related to Ghislaine Maxwell. Federal prosecutors must now publish records including search warrants and witness testimony. Judge Paul Engelmeyer warned the public, however, that the release may not yield any new information of consequence.
Qatari opposition leader Sheikh Khalid al-Hal is igniting the internet after calling Qatar's ruling regime a criminal organization built on terrorism. Daily Wire senior editor Joel Needler has more.
Speaking with Australian Conservative host Aaron Molan, al-Hal described torture, exile, and Qatar's long-standing support for Hamas and other extremist groups. He says Doha's polished image in the West masks a government that silences critics, rigs elections, and replaces its own population with loyal foreign recruits.
Even in the army of Qatar, they intentionally mixing foreigners with the locals because they know that the Qatari people condemn the Qatari government actions. The Qatari people are not Muslim Brotherhood. We are not Islamist. We are not extremist. It's the regime and their affiliates. That's the problem. It's not an accusation. It's a factual information. The Qatari regime existence is based on terrorism.
Al-Hal vowed that if his movement succeeds, Qatar will end all funding to Islamist groups and expel Hamas leadership, insisting the country must become a stabilizing force rather than a global sponsor of extremism.
A New York Post exclusive is blowing the lid off openly white supremacist streamer Nick Fuentes' so-called surging popularity. Daily Wire reporter Tim Pierce has more.
This new analysis shows that Fuentes' rising notoriety is in part driven by foreign bot farms, not by engagement from real Americans. According to the Network Contagion Research Institute, Fuentes' posts are being boosted by coordinated networks in Pakistan, India, Nigeria, and other anti-Western hotspots, boosting his apparent influence. Researchers say Fuentes himself accused these bot raids in real time, and media outlets fell for the fake engagement, treating him like a major political force. Tech experts warn that the scheme mirrors foreign destabilization tactics designed to fracture America's conservative movement from within.
Amid mounting evidence of Minnesota welfare fraud among Somali immigrants, Democrat Representative Ilhan Omar is arguing that Somalis are also victims in the story. Here's Omar on Fox this past weekend.
You know, this also has an impact on Somalis because we are also taxpayers in Minnesota. We also could have benefited from the program and the money that was stolen.
Daily Wire reporter Amanda Presa-Giacomo has more details on the scandal.
Recent estimates say the fraud has cost taxpayers at least $1 billion. Beyond her role as representative, Omar may have a personal connection to the fraud scandal. The New York Post reports that Omar held parties at one of the key restaurants named in the scandal and knew one of its owners who is now convicted of stealing millions in funds. One of her own staffers has been convicted of stealing millions as well. And Omar introduced a bill, the 2020 Meals Act, that has been linked to $250 million in fraud.
The Trump administration has found tens of thousands of migrant children lost under President Biden. Daily Wire immigration reporter Jenny Terr has the story.
The administration located 62,000 missing migrant children who crossed the border alone after the Biden administration lost track of roughly 320,000 of them. The Biden administration faced a record wave of migrant children crossing the border, bringing in roughly 500,000 of them. Federal authorities released many of them to poorly vetted sponsors, according to an inspector general's report released last year. Now the Trump administration is trying to locate them all. Border czar Tom Homan spoke to Fox Sunday about the progress they're making and said some of the children were found in unspeakable situations.
There's over 62,000 children found by the Trump administration, children that weren't even being looked for under the Biden administration. Some of these children were in sex trafficking, we found them. Some were in forced labor. Some were being mistreated. I can't even discuss some of the mistreatment we found out about.
And according to a new study, 1/3 of all Netflix shows rated for children contain LGBTQ characters, themes, or messaging. Daily Wire entertainment reporter Amanda Harding has more.
The study from Concerned Women for America found that the percentage jumps up even further to 41% in both TVG and TVY7 categories. In other words, the shows most aggressively marketed to the youngest viewers now routinely include sexual identity content that would have been unthinkable in children's entertainment just a decade ago. The research team examined 326 Netflix series rated TVG, TVY, or TVY7, categories traditionally meant to be free of sexual topics altogether. Even among TVY shows, which are geared toward preschoolers, 21% of the programs introduce LGBT identity concepts. Shows such as The Magic School Bus Rides Again and Strawberry Shortcake Berry in the Big City feature transgender, non-binary, or trans-coded characters.
Those are your drive home updates this evening. To learn more about these stories, go to dailywire.com. And in case you missed it earlier today, we covered some major stories, including Ukraine being hit with new corruption allegations as Trump pushes for his peace deal, Daily Wire's Luke Rosiak prepares to testify on rampant government fraud, and new evidence that Joe Biden knew in advance the damage his immigration policies would do. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow morning with another full edition of Morning Wire.